We'd like to welcome to our studios here at Calabash two honorable gentlemen who we've interacted with, I guess, once a year, apart from you, Cecil. We have Cecil Charles who's here with us, and also Archdeacon and Rector of the Anglican Church, the Hoy Trinity Anglican Church. Christian Glasgow, welcome to Calabash TV.
Thank you, Bernard.
And we do this almost annually. We know once you're here, we're here to talk about, talk about Gospelypso.
Yes.
And Cecil is here, who's also going to join the conversations with us, coordinator. And so, Archdeacon, let's talk about this year, 2024. Give us an idea of what should we be expecting. That's on June the 9th, Sunday. Right.
So, this is our third edition of Gospelypso, and it is an improvement over the past 2 years. There's a wider lineup, but we still maintain the focus of using the genre of calypso to spread the gospel. In addition to that, we have somewhat broadened it to try to offer the opportunity to others who may not necessarily have the chance to make that kind of input, so that is spreading that way. But there's another aspect we need to pay attention to come this year and going forward. From a sociological viewpoint, every society needs to have some activity for venting. It is essential for mental health of a nation. And so we are offering an alternative for those who may not necessarily want to have the carnival experience for venting, and those who probably want something a bit more sober. And so Gospelypso provides that also.
Mm-hmm. And it's a show that's open to any and everybody. All denominations are free to
there's no limitation as to denominations. You don't even have to be involved in a denomination. Once you're prepared to produce gospel music, you are welcome to be part of it. And the lineup this year has a variety of people. Even folks who are not necessarily associated with any particular church.
Just out of curiosity, I'm sure probably Cecil can answer that as well, but let me ask you, are there members of your church who are actually Calypsonians participating in this as well?
I think that's better for Cecil to answer.
What I was trying to say, I was wondering if you yourself will be singing.
Not this year.
Not this year, okay. Yes, Cecil. So give us an idea of the lineup, obviously. So that's what I was aiming at.
Actually, our bishop was supposed to have been performing this year, but he went through some health issues and so on, and so he's not able to perform because he himself sings calypso.
Yeah. Good. Because I wanted to see Archdeacon sing, but yes, I'll have to wait for next year.
Yeah, we'll have to wait for next year.
Okay.
Yeah, but essentially we have a wide range of persons. What we also have been able to do is that we have had past calypsonians who no longer sing calypso. They now have become, well, they have been converted into Christianity. So when I think of a person like George Charles from Viewfort, I tried to get him on the first show, and he was kind of reluctant because he felt this was really associated with the carnival. But then seeing what has transpired over the last 2 years, he came on board immediately because he saw what we were doing, because now he has realized it is really spreading the gospel through the art form of the calypso genre. We also are looking at a number of the present group of calypsonians, and a lot of them started in church, a lot of them are still in church, and even if some of the music that they are producing, it is really uplifting. So we think of, for example, of Manchus, who is very enthusiastic about this year, where he sings that song about I Am Royal, and if you listen to the lyrics, it brings out the whole thing about who is royal. He's talking about Christ. We have Ricardo, the whole question of blessings and so on. He has come up with that kind of topic. We have Orion, who everybody knows is this guy who thinks, and Orion is actually a Christian, I could tell you that. And yes, he started at the RC Boys School, he went into the soca, and he went back into the whole question of gospel, and you listen to the song that he's singing this year, it really appeals not just to the older folks, but also to the younger folks. And it is sending out a positive message, which is what we are all about. Of course, we have people like Mika this year. We have a young man named Rowan, who is Ashe. He's actually singing calypso. Now, he has a song where he has, Where Is Your Will? But for this show, he has redone the lyrics to suit the occasion. Right? Well, people like Senator, we all know, who also sings the gospel. He's on our cast again this year. Lady Lynn. One of the beautiful things about it also, they say that you have Era Ome, and she's going to be singing with her daughter. So that in itself is a plus. Of course, Dwayne Brown, we know that gospel singer. Yes, he resides in St. Lucia, Jamaican born, but he's performing all over the world. And he's once again in the cast. Casey, as I mentioned, Ricardo, we have, of course, AJ, who is, of course, a gospel rapper. We have Zidane. All those guys actually have positive songs and songs that is uplifting, talking about the gospel, spreading it. Of course, we have our favorite, Father Albert. And I know a lot of people are actually looking forward to him, but he's also coming not by himself, but he's coming with his group. And that's a group that perform at Kingdom Nights. Okay, that wonderful group that he has within his parish. And I tell you, they are very excited, they want to be there. And we were able to, this year we had to actually keep the numbers low because we would have had a show for about over 6 hours. And we know that in itself is not good. Of course, the event is really family. Right. And that's why we are starting at 6 p.m. because we want it to be about maybe a 3.5 hours. Person have time to go home, feel the spirit, get into that groove, and get ready for work and school the following day.
It's called Gospelypso, but it's obviously not just calypso genre. All other musical genres are there as well.
Yeah, all other musical genres. For example, Lady Lynn is doing a reggae kind of lypso. So that in itself is good. The beautiful thing about it is that we have been able to get a gospel group, backup band, which is Inspirational Zone 6. A lot of their members are actually from the different churches like Stream of Power and so on. The McLennan young guy who is Jonathan is actually leading that band. So that is what we are happy about, so that when you see the backup band, it is actually persons within their zone, the cultural, the gospel zone. And naturally they will bring out what we want, because it is really about witnessing. It is about witnessing. And as Archdeacon would said, what we also realize is that this show brings out other persons who would not normally come to a calypso tent. And we have seen it growing. Even in the sale of tickets, we realize who are the people. So you have a nice mature audience. You also have the young people, of course, who would be attracted to the Zidans and the ages and so on. And so it would be a nice blend. It would be a nice mix. And we will give our best.
Yes, and I'm happy to see that Lady Lynn is returning to the stage as well.
Yes, right, because we know about illness.
Yes, right. Archdeacon, so I think presenting it, the two main churches, and you'll explain to us, the Holy Trinity Anglican Church with the St. Mary the Virgin Lakai.
Right, yes.
Explain to us the two different churches involved.
The parish, the Anglican parish, has two places of worship. So there's one on Trinity Church Road, and that church there is Holy Trinity. But you also have one at Lakai, and that is called St. Mary the Virgin. So the parish combined is Holy Trinity with St. Mary the Virgin, Lakai. And I am the priest and rector of the parish. So both congregations have responsibility for.
Cecil, do we have anybody from Lakai participating?
Well, we'd hope. We're still waiting because there's still space, as I said, for our church, even though we have gotten a number of other persons from the other thing. But then we always see ourselves as one. It's a smaller congregation. It is not as big as Holy Trinity, but it is our sister, and we work along with them in whatever way we can.
I was thinking, how satisfying is it to see, the turnout, the support? Because it's always a very, very vibrant show. There's so much energy, when you go to the Gospelypso. Talk to us about how satisfying is it for you to see this happen?
Well, it is very satisfying, and it offers us an opportunity for something that as a church we have always been talking about, and that has to do with culture and how we need not demonize culture, but rather culture can be redeemed so that all parties can have that cultural experience. And when you look at the turnout at the Gospelypso, it certainly says to us that this nation, or at least a part of this nation, is hungry for something other than what is being fed constantly. And we see ourselves as church filling that role. But it also offers us an avenue going forward to begin to push this alternative experience on a wider basis. And I am hopeful that other denominations will come on board with this idea that as Christians, we don't have to be long-faced people hiding behind just the Word of God, but rather we can be persons who experience the fullness of life which Christ has come to give us. I've come that we have life, and life in all its fullness. And being able to appreciate and enjoy the gifts that God has given to us is part of a full living. And that, to my mind, is one of the plus from the Gospelypso, and that is very encouraging.
I'm sure it's also magical to see people from different churches, because you have Father Albert on one hand, you have AJ, who's from another church. I know Manchester used to be an Adventist, from the Adventist church as well. He's from that background as well. So people of different faiths coming together to worship.
Absolutely, and maybe Jesus smiles every time you see the Gospelypso.
Yes,
that
definitely.
they all may be one.
And it's what is us as Caribbean people. Cecil, you did talk to us a little bit about the backup band and so on. Is it a formal group, or the band was set up just for Gospelypso?
No, actually it's a formal group. They also perform on the cruise ship also, and they perform at different events, wedding events, basically private events and so on, but they are church oriented, which is what I'm happy about this year. And I could tell you, just listening from their rehearsals, you know, I saw, for example, Mika, when she rehearsed, the spirit just came over her. I mean, you just saw the tears coming out and so on, and you know what she was feeling. When Charles performed at his first rehearsal, I mean, it was just a wonderful experience. He coming from Viewfort, and he actually expressed the joy of what he was feeling. So there again, I'm saying that we are witnessing. Yes, you are using Calypsonians. Yes, you are using other persons, and even some names that person might be associated with smut and so on. But what I'm saying is that those persons are always bringing out a message positive with what they are going to be singing, what they're going to be performing on Sunday. And rest assured, it will be a clean show, even though maybe some person might associate certain artists with the wider world, but all I could tell you, their message is pure. It is not just a message, a messenger always does that for us. And you know, it's only $30, only $30 on Sunday, showtime, witnessing, as far as I'm concerned, it starts at 6 p.m. And as you know, once I'm involved in something, it starts on time. So that we are happy about. We are happy that a lot of persons have come to support it. We have Nissan, who graciously, you know, just came on board when we did send a proposal to them. We have, of course, the Ministry of Creative Industries, who are very supportive of it. CMMC, and we are happy for them for what they actually did to us this year, is that we are able to produce our ad on our own, but they were able to use the spots that they have to actually advertise the show for us. So we are happy for that also. And persons, of course, like John Michel Electrical, you know, no matter how small, he's very much there with us. And the other sponsors who we know are still coming on board, because I know some of them are actually meeting this afternoon to decide. So by the grace of God, we know that we're going to be successful in the sense, not just driven by profit, but the fact that we could do something to bring a new element, a new energy, a new group of people to come into the realms during the carnival season.
So this will remain seasonal for the time being, or is it something that could be duplicated and put on at a different time of the year in different locations?
Well, if I tell you, we already have a couple of plans for that in terms of looking at the calendar and positioning it. Even if you notice with some of the festivals that we have done before, the Breadfruit Festival, the Banana Festival, the Caribbean Ties Exhibition, and a lot of it could come into those areas, not necessarily. We have, of course, Trinity Sunday, which is the patronal festival for the Anglican Church. we're looking at doing something there also. But as I said, these are things in plan, and it's not just to make it seasonal. And the other thing too is that we want to develop a training component to all what we are doing. So in terms of even producing musicians, because that there's a lack, there's a dearth of not having enough musicians in St. Lucia. We are looking at that. I think the Anglican Church is well known for singing, for choral music and so on. Happy that we have the National School Combined Choir who actually rehearse. In fact, the venue, the annex, is actually their home, thanks to Archdeacon. And we are looking at the resources that we have that we could begin to develop our own and begin to bring in the interest. And it is not just about church members, but also we're thinking of the community, because we are very responsible for the entire community, especially the new village, those areas that are around us. Yeah, so we are very aware of that, and we need to be able to provide programs and so on to bring those persons into our fold.
Archdeacon, Cecil anticipated my next question to you, and he answered it to some extent, which I was going to ask you in terms of, we know that churches have been a major breeding ground, fertile ground for singers, for musicians across the island. Most musicians speak with say they start in church and so on. And I'm happy Cecil mentioned that, because that was my next question in terms of what role is there for the churches to help advance those musicians, because we know, I don't know of any church that has a program where they encourage young people to go study music formally and so on, where they give scholarships and so on. I was about to ask you, but Cecil addressed some of it in terms of the training program that's happening, but what do you see as a role of not just your church, but churches generally, in if you identify somebody who has talent and you serve as the fertile ground for developing that talent, there should be a responsibility to take them further to the next stage and so on.
Yes, I agree that there should be that responsibility. But I also must let you know that there are avenues available. Let's say, for example, from the Anglican Church viewpoint, any person who is serious in music can actually be tutored and certified eventually by the Royal School of Music, which is an international body. And that is the type of connection that as a church we have, and other churches too. About 2 years ago, we started a relationship with the St. Lucia School of Music, along that same line where some of our young people were training there. Then COVID came and so many other things happened. But even beyond that, having primary schools, that's the breeding ground, as it were, for music. I'm sure you would know that eventually the Royal St. Lucia Police Band had its genesis at the Anglican Primary School. One of our schoolmasters from Barbados, I believe, had that brainchild of developing music, orchestra music, and all of that. So as church, we have had the experience and continue to have the avenue for doing just that. And it is important, the point that Cecil made, that we need to expand on a bit. And that is, as church, we don't see ourselves just existing for ourselves at all. Of great importance is the community around us. For our whole existence and well-being as a church is tied up with that of the community. And if the community is not doing well, physically the church is not doing well either. And so yes, there's a need, and we understand that quite clearly. There's a responsibility of reaching beyond the walls of the church building and reaching out to the communities where we exist.
Cecil, my final question, in terms of the show itself, how much focus is there on encouraging new material, original material?
Well, yes, and we actually see that happening. And as I said, the whole training and what we are doing, even in terms of the artists that we have, a lot of it is the original music or the original creative work. And that is why when I was able to look at a lot of the young artists who are coming in, I realized that they have that, but it was just a matter of tweeting it to allow for them to realize that they too have a responsibility and that they could send out positive messages there, especially to the young persons and so on. And I guess when young persons see them, you know, expressing that kind of message, they them too will be able to identify with what is happening, because it's coming from within their own circle. It is no longer where they might be seeing, you know, a 60-year-old man trying to push that on them, but they see their peers. And we are happy for that. Even in terms of the writing, as you always realize, even in terms of the writing, a lot of the music, we want it to reflect that. So for example, we have a young man named Sky who is singing Calypso for the first time. I mean, he was involved in theater and so on. And he has a song, basically what it says is that Jesus Christ was the first Calypsonian. And when you listen to that, you know, it is really telling you about who was the five virgins, and all things that is related to the Bible is coming out in that song. So we're happy for those kind of things, and then we just hope we could continue, build on it, get the necessary funding wherever it is. And it doesn't have to be that exorbitant that we cannot deal with it. We know there are avenues, there are agencies that could assist in that, and I think we will be able to tap into some of those areas. So yes, we're looking at the whole question, and it is not only about the writing. We're talking about production to itself, because we always realize once you have a show, it is actually a production. It involves a number of areas and so on, and that is what we are also trying to bring out. So for example, our backstage, our production team would also include, for example, the vice president of the Students' Council at Sir Arthur, who is actually an Anglican. All right, we have even our own entity, we have a doctor, okay, who is an Anglican, so should be providing services in that field. And we have accountants among ourselves and so on who would be helping with the different aspects of our show. And of course, when it comes to the spiritual aspect, we know we have Father Albert, we have Archdeacon, who would lead us in terms of the starting of the show, get it off to how we want it to start off, because we don't know nothing without praise. Yeah. All right.
Good. So, Archdeacon, just again remind us of the date and the time. I think Cecil said he's starting at sharp 6 o'clock.
That's right.
What's the date again? Is the 9th of June?
Yeah.
Sunday, the 9th of June, 6 p.m. we start, and it is touted as a family affair. The entire household can be comfortable. But just before you close, Bernard, as a teaser going forward, and this one is a real teaser. We open by speaking about not demonizing the culture, but redeeming it. So we're looking forward that as next year comes up, we should have something from Denry segment on the Gospelypso.
Oh, that's a major tease. major tease. We appreciate it. Thank you so much, Archdeacon Christian Glasgow from the Hoy Trinity Anglican Church, and Cecil was the coordinator of Gospelypso for the 3rd year. Cecil, we appreciate what you've done for the fraternity, and wish you all the best for Sunday. And thanks for coming, Archdeacon.
Thank you very much.
And we know you'll be there to record it so that we have that for the next 6
for posterity.
We're keeping our fingers crossed. Yes, certainly. I appreciate it. You've been watching Calabash TV. We appreciate you being here with us. Thank you very much.